Welcome back to Lost in Theaters, the podcast where we talk about movies that have slipped through the cracks of pop culture. My name is Rachel.
And you're not speaking into the microphone again.
Rachel. I don't know. Do you think our audience hears the difference?
Probably.
But I'm here with my beloved sister.
Hello. My name is Ruth.
Ruth. I thought of this the other day. Are you ready?
Oh no.
I'm here with the sound you make when you get punched in the stomach.
I'm the person.
What is that sound? Oof.
Yeah, I feel like I deserve this.
Oof.
I feel like there were just like too many years of like terrorizing you as a cat person or something.
Oh, sister. Additionally, there was another thought there. Oh, yes. We have achieved, Ruth.
Yeah?
The supreme social media trifecta.
What?
I know.
What?
Can you believe it?
I thought we were on more than 3 social medias.
Well, we were, but the thing is we've achieved...
What did you do?
the top 3 is the ones. Do you know what they are?
No.
Can you guess?
I think it depends on who you're speaking to.
You should just guess.
YouTube.
I quit.
Spotify.
It's over.
Social media.
We're done. You can find
Snapchat.
us now at Lost in Theaters on
Marco Polo.
Nope. On Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Facebook's the new one. Is it social media?
Instagram,
Twitter.
tweet. The book face.
Book face. It was just one of those initial announcements I thought our listeners would like to know before we jump in to the podcast where we're going to talk about the movie called Con Men. Came out in 2015.
The way you said it, it sounded like it was supposed to be said ManCon.
It's because I wanted to say ManCon. It's also 2 words.
But that doesn't make any sense.
It's also 2 words. Con men. And I consistently wanted to just go con men when I wrote it out, you know?
This is plural. This is many men, not one man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I say
men.
that.
Cool. No.
And I'm suddenly doubting everything.
What? You watched the movie, didn't
did.
you? How many men were there?
Well, there were several. Let's
Spoilers.
Double check everything. It is con men. I am not insane.
Spelling. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be man. Rachel wouldn't know. But now we do know. We checked. It came out in 2015. It was written and directed by R. Paul Wilson.
Go Wilson.
It's Irish.
Who? What?
The film.
Movie?
The film is Irish. By that I mean, I think it was filmed in Ireland, and everyone speaks with an Irish accent. If you want to...
Do the Irish people give 2 bits about it? Do they care?
Didn't check Irish Reddit, no.
Well, you said it's an Irish film.
Yeah, I did.
That was a weird accent I just picked up.
Oh.
Irish.
This director has done a Scottish film as well.
Maybe he's just a Anglophile?
No, I think he is from the northern parts.
Nice save there.
He's done several other films about magic and conning and things. He actually did a whole reality TV show called The Real Hustle.
Is this just like practice for some like heist he's gonna hold at some point?
Well, here's the thing, he is a renowned magician.
Oh.
So he's thought about it a lot.
Still sketchy.
Yeah.
More sketchy.
Yeah. Well,
Is it The Prestige?
Oh.
No. Which one is it?
I mean,
that's like the group of magicians that...
Oh, Now You See Me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like that, but
not
slightly more interwoven plot-wise. And actually, here's the thing. More Gaelic. I put here Irish burn notice. Because... So you know how...
Fee?
No. Oh, that's interesting. I forgot.
Is it just everyone is Fee?
No.
The character in Burn Notice.
So here's the thing. You know how in Burn Notice there are these scenes where Michael Weston, who's a spy, he'll like talk about how to be a spy, you know, and he'll say, here's how you make a bomb. And he'll like explain all these things.
Yeah, it's like this little do-it-yourself. What the heck? Why
and
is
he
the show
voices
allowed?
over, and then the hands.
Those were legitimate explosives. He was literally explaining how to build.
They were. So he voices over, or he'll be like, "Here's how you stop a guy from busting through this wall," or whatever, and he'll do the voiceover while you see them doing that. What if it didn't cut away? Like, what if you didn't see the hands doing it, and it was just Michael Weston talking to Sam, his buddy, and he was like, "Sam, let me tell you how you bust through a wall."
What? So you don't actually get it at a demonstration until later?
Yeah.
Without the voice.
Without the voice.
So he just tells you how it goes.
Yes.
And then they go do it. What?
And not quite, but they don't do exactly that, right?
Okay.
So they don't, it isn't, you don't get the, you know, this is how you do B, and then they're like, and then you just see B. No, you just see more con men things, different con men things.
Aren't we supposed to be introducing this movie?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, just checking.
This movie is someone's cup of tea, but that person is not an action movie person. This person just sits there.
I am an action movie person.
And people talk. There's a lot of talking.
Oh, I like those too.
And there is some doing things, but it's sort of overpowered by the amount of talking in a way that it was sort of suppressive. Some people might think of it like a blanket that wraps them.
Do you think Dr. Scott Moore would enjoy this film?
No.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go, yeah. Additionally,
he likes slow films.
Well, I just don't think you would like this film. It was very...
What are you hiding from me?
I'm just saying, the voiceover without the... Okay, so additionally...
Yeah.
You know the phrase, cussing like an Irishman?
I think you made that up.
I did make it up. Let's just say it's pretty high on the Shakespeare scale.
Oh yay, Shakespeare scale! I love the Shakespeare scale.
Is back, and it's kind of high on the Shakespeare scale, and I didn't realize that going into the movie. It was 13+, and I was like, it'll be fine. It's 13+.
But you didn't account for the Irish.
I didn't account for the Irish. It's an Irish 13+.
Yeah.
So it's just that slight difference there.
Is Shakespeare at the top, the highest on the Shakespeare scale, or is he just the middle?
I would say he's the middle.
Because he cusses a lot.
Okay, then he's the upper middle. Shakespeare's the upper middle.
Okay. I feel like it's the Shakespeare triangle.
Oh.
Shakespeare is at the apex of the triangle.
Okay.
And it is generally clever.
Yeah.
And contains, like, theological insight as he's cussing you out.
Profanities.
It's like, well, dang, I'm having a revelation.
About the nature of the sacrament.
Yeah.
While you're using that horrific term. It's so true. That's really weird.
I feel scandalized and enlightened in, like, really opposite ways.
It's the gravedigger scene in Hamlet?
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly the one.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
So yeah. But then, like, as it gets less and less clever, you get to the bottom. And there's lots of that.
So what are the two bottom ends?
Just, like, excessive versus non-existent.
Oh, I see. Yes. So I would put it... Oh, it's not clever at all. It's pretty just... It's just, yeah, they just put it in there. Additionally...
So bottom line... Like, bottom corner.
Yeah.
Okay. Lots, not clever.
Not clever. And it is. It's a bit much. I was an accident. I didn't know it was going to be this way. Additionally,
that's why you watched it, though.
This is important to note. The people, there are some, how do we put this? I would say there are some very naked people on.
Isn't that the point of the word naked?
No, because
to explain that they're not
wearing
clothes.
They're not totally exposed.
Well, that would be not so naked.
They're just
some not so naked people.
But then people will be like, oh, they're clothed people. But you can see they're not clothed. But
they're erotically framed.
No, they're not. No. It's not erotic at all.
Wow.
It's
That's a interesting line.
Yeah. So they're just
almost a relief.
And they're not, like I said, they're not exposed per se.
What in the world?
Like,
is it just like little children running around?
No, it's full-grown men.
Oh, okay.
And now
I don't know why you said that and it made sense.
Don't take this the wrong way. It is, there's torture, but they're not being tortured.
This is a terrible introduction.
I know. It's a disaster of a film. No, it's actually not a disaster of a film.
Okay.
Well then. It is, but it's interesting because with all, like, con men movies these days, everyone is expecting the twist, you know?
The twist.
I love the twist. Everybody expects the twist.
Will-o'-the-wisp.
And I was expecting the twist, and I was still just a little bit surprised by it at the end. Not totally surprised, a little bit surprised. Additionally, I was hurt by having not seen The Sting. If you want to watch The Sting first...
Is that a band?
No, it's a man. Wait, I think Sting is a man. I had this straight once. I think Sting is the lead singer of... No, that might be Bono. I think Bono is the lead singer. Oh, The Police! I think Sting is the lead singer of The Police.
Someone is rolling over in their grave.
I always get Bono and Sting confused.
That's probably a music crime.
Oh my lord.
I'm just as bad though. Okay. You're just brave enough to say it out loud.
Okay, so it's got a lot of, like, the dialogue wraps you up like a blanket. There's lots of that.
Burrito.
It's very slow in playing things out. At the same time, it is sort of satisfying when you get to the end. Sorta, yeah.
But not really. No.
Like I said, an Irish burn notice, but not quite.
Okay.
Yeah. Question. Oh, the music is like a western. It's like. That's the kind of music. It's not quite.
That's it.
It's not like that.
What?
But it's got that sort of like banjo twang.
I think I do not understand.
Like if you were to see a western and like guns at noon, yes, kind of.
Clicked. It just took me a second.
Yeah, that's the sounds of the film, the whole thing, and I think that's the only. There's like.
That's all, folks.
A page of music that they use over and over again, but it's done well, and it's noticeable, but not unnoticeable. Maybe.
Leitmotif. It's not a leitmotif.
Not a leitmotif. All right. Questions, concerns from the audience.
Naked men?
Yeah. Not.
I feel like that's a pressing concern the audience wants to know now.
So they're not.
Is it worth watching this movie?
Yeah. It isn't like they're not. They're just they're sitting in chairs.
What do people have to be in the mood for to watch this? They're sitting in chairs. No, don't answer that.
They're like they have to be in the mood just to not be mentally enlivened.
So this is like drinking hard alcohol or something.
I don't
because
even
you
know,
want to
man.
just forget the world or what?
No, you gotta be. It's not intense until it is, and you're just sort of wrapped in the film. And sometimes you don't know what they're saying because
this is a Dr. Moore movie.
It's very Irish.
Yeah.
And the accent. Sometimes you don't know what they're saying because the accent is so strong.
Sometimes I don't know what you're saying.
Just like right there.
But that's for a different
I know that
reason.
I heard it come out of my mouth like a blah.
Blah.
Blah. Yeah.
Well, now that we've assuaged everyone's fears,
I think the person who would want to watch this film, They would be interested in detective movie, like, figuring out things, crime films, kind of like The Adventurer, but The Adventurers from a couple weeks ago, way more fun. This is not fun.
Well then,
you have to be. It's a not fun movie.
What? Very serious.
Yeah, it takes itself seriously.
Oh.
There are quotations throughout the whole thing from a guy named S2E13.
Is it French?
He's a card table expert.
Could I see his name?
Yeah. It looks like a racer with a D in the middle and an A that's missing.
I have no idea how to say that.
Erdnase.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like nose with an A instead of an O, and herd at the beginning said without the H.
Yeah. Yeah. Erdnase.
I think it's like nah or something. I don't know.
Apparently he's a famous card table expert. And he just gets quoted. There's quotes that appear on the screen. Yeah. It's an art film, perhaps. Yeah.
Alrighty then.
Medium spoilers.
After that catastrophe.
Here we go. Medium spoilers. Here goes. So, the basic idea is that a young con man comes to an experienced con man and tells him of the death of the grandfather con man.
Oh my gosh.
And
are you sure this isn't just like the mafia?
I'm sure.
Because it's Irish?
No. There's Irish mafia.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is not that. It's not that at all.
Okay. Just checking.
And so he comes to him and he says, I was his new protege. We were working together. And he had a big score he was trying to get. And do you want to get it with me? And this is what he get. And there's like a thing that they do. So then it's the older con man training the younger con man, preparing to get this big score that they have.
Oh,
and you'd think that would be lively. but
no.
No.
Okay.
It's sort of like us sitting here talking about a podcast. I mean, about a film. I do that all the time, don't I? It's sort of, imagine two people talking about a movie, and if the camera periodically switched. You've seen My Dinner with Andre, right? No.
Wait.
Do you know about the preface of My Dinner with Andre?
No.
It's two men who go to dinner. It's a film about two men who go to dinner, who then, the film, they just talk about things for an hour.
Yeah.
And it's a film of that, instead of actually cutting away to see things. So, the movie does cut away to other things, but a lot of it is, you don't really cut away from what's happening in the moment, ever. And it could be what's happening in the moment is two people talking.
Alrighty then.
Yeah. About what it means to be a con man.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this is a philosophy movie.
You think? Yeah, well, it's trying to be.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if it is.
It did not impress you.
Well, not in the philosophical sense. It is insightful about con men, perhaps. Yeah, maybe.
This is a rough one.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't know. I found it not vaguely, I found it interesting. You know?
No, I mean, yes, you found it interesting.
I did. There's stuff, we have to get to the main points of the film. Are we ready to go to major spoilers? Because we could. Are any last questions from the Ruth Gallery? Concerns? Nah?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We over here.
Alright, people. We're going to go into major spoilers.
That was the shortest red light I've ever seen.
I don't know if that was that short. Okay, so the opening quotation. The passion for play is probably old and will be enduring at... Oh, no.
Oh, dear.
The passion for play is probably as old and will be as enduring as the race of men. Play as in card play, probably.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's just play.
Just play. Okay. Yes, that's by S2E13, a card table expert, it says. This opening scene, a man is sitting alone at a table. He's looking nervous. He's got a package. 2 more people show up. They were late by like an hour. The guy's nervous. There's some sort of trade going on. There's a girl and the 2 guys, the guy who was sitting there and the guy that came with the girl, both give her like $25,000 for these diamonds.
Okay.
Then there's a trade going down, and then a 3rd guy shows up and he has the diamonds and they're supposed to give him the money, and then the initial guy who was sitting at the table chickens out. He goes to the bathroom, and the guy who also has money, $25,000, he goes to check on him in the bathroom, and he's like, "It's gonna be okay, man, everything's gonna be fine." But while they're in there, they hear something in the other room, so then they go back to check it out, and they're like, "Oh no, the cops, they've come." And they're like, "Oh, what are we gonna do?" And like, "Let's just get out of here." And then the nervous guy's like, "But the money, I don't want to lose the money." And so he goes to get the money, but then he gets, a cop finds him and like gets him on the table, and so that the other guy runs away, because the other guy's been caught, and he gets out of Dodge, and then you cut back to the guy with the police, being held at the table by the police. And the girl and the 3rd guy with the diamonds show up again, and they're like, "Well, that worked out well. He's already in the car. All right, so how much did we make?" And they're like, "Oh, and they talk about the money that they just made, because they were the con men."
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the 4 of them were in on the conning the one guy.
Okay.
And the nervous guy, what's so interesting is the nervous guy was not nervous. He's actually the guy who gets it, comes up with the cons. He's a smart guy. New scene. There's a fellow, the nervous guy turns out lives on a farm, and he gets a phone call. And they're like, "Hey, some kid's here is asking for you." And this is the thing I was talking about at the beginning in the medium spoiler section, where he tells the person to bring the kid to his house, and he talks to the kid, and the kid is like, "So Joe's dead, someone killed him," but he's all scared, right? Because
guys,
he's nervous, he's gonna get killed or bumped off or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Joe's dead," and he's like, "Did you kill him?" And he's like, "No, I didn't, don't." And he's like, "Okay, so there's some really intense interchanges here, lots of shouting in Irish tones. And he's like, but he had a lot of money coming in, and he had this one last job. It was gonna be like, I think he calls it a rock. That's how much money they would make, is a rock.
Okay.
I don't know, my brain said $500,000. What? When they said they were gonna make a rock, I was like, that's clearly $500,000. Anyway.
Okay.
So he's gonna make a ton of money, and he says, "I have this number. Do you know what it is?" That's what he said. This is the thing he had.
Mm-hmm.
To verify the guy's story, the older con man has a friend go to visit the old guy's house. He sees the body. It's tragic.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Okay, I believe your story." He's like, "But, I suppose we'll look into this game thing. If it is real, not this game, this number. If he knows
phone number?
Yeah, it's a phone number. And he's like, if it is legit, it'll be a big haul. And it's gonna be it's a card game. That the number leads you to a card game, and it has a really big buy-in, like $15,000 or something.
Okay.
And he says, "So we'll figure it out." They're obviously they decide they're gonna work together to get this huge
Dump it on Will
thing. Okay, new scene. There's like this, and there's a new quote, and it says, "Excess vanity proves the undoing of many experts." And this is the new scene. And there are 3 guys with hoods on their heads, tied to chairs.
Not okay.
They're black hoods. Mm-mm. They're gonna, presumably it's a bad situation for them.
Oh my god.
So, and then you cut away from that and you meet, we somehow, I actually don't know how they do this in the film, how they represent this, but I knew that this was at some point in the future. Right? That these three guys tied to chairs it's a future scene. It happens at the end of the movie, and the rest of the movie is going to be leading up to this idea. I don't know how I knew this, but the movie conveyed it to me somehow, which I think is really interesting.
That's nice.
So, back on the main plot, the two con men meet up, and the girl gives the two con men meet up with his original team of 3 members, and she gives him a bag, and then Ruth, this is what I'm saying. There's this really bizarre, really extended scene where the new young con man and the older con man work, like the older con man is teaching the young guy how to scam a guy out of gold, or out of money buying fake gold chains. And it's really intense. It involves, like, them choosing a different location, pretending to be paranoid, and there's a weird dynamic between the buyer and his sons that gets sort of fleshed out a little.
Okay.
And that has to do with, like, scratching the gold to prove that it's real or not, and ultimately they win, and he says, "How did you do it?" And I can tell you, would you like to, where it's the major spoiler section, I'll tell you. He didn't switch the gold chains, he switched the tester they were using to test the gold chains, so it was a faulty tester. And that's how the con worked, and how they got the money, it's a whole thing. But the scene is like 25 minutes long. It's really extended.
Like, actually 25 minutes?
Maybe? Like, it was maybe like 15 to 25 minutes. It was a very extended scene.
That's a big range.
Okay, 20 to 50. It was just, I just remember thinking, like, what does this have to do with the plot of the movie? But at the end, when the young guy and the older con, he's not that old. He's probably like mid-40s. It's
okay.
Yeah. It's just compared to the younger guy.
Yeah.
They talk. That's when my brain was like, oh, he was showing him how to be a good con man. Yeah. But I had no idea what was going on. Why this was here. It was because it was so intense. I don't know. I'm used to movies that are very quick.
Yeah.
You know? Where they sort of like explain this differently or something. This is just how they chose to show it. It was very extended. And, then they take this money they got and they give it to, or the older con man takes it to the girl who's in cahoots, and she's like, you know that young guy's gonna scam you, right? That's his plan. He's gonna try and scam you out of the money.
Yeah.
And then, he says, well, he claims that Joe, the guy who'd been murdered, had been sitting on this number for several months.
Oh.
And he didn't even give it to me, because apparently they were friends or whatever. And he's like, well, and he's like, you know what that means? And she's like, yeah, I do know what that means. Okay.
What?
So we don't know what that means.
What does that mean?
Well, we're gonna find out later. And then, there's another very extended dialogue about where one keeps their stash as a con man.
Ooh.
And apparently there's 2 stashes, right? The fake stash and the real stash.
Yeah.
And they explain all that pretty extensively.
Terry Pratchett writes about this a lot.
Oh?
Side note.
Okay. He does, yes, right, because he has his Guild of Assassins.
Well, no, did you ever read Going Postal?
No, I have the Night Watch on my shelf. No, okay. I don't have Going Postal.
Yeah, that one really goes into it in, like, detail.
I should read it. Okay, so, we cut back to the weird scene with the 3 men tied to chairs. There's a really intense interrogation that's going on, and, the guy shows up he's like, I want my money. We're gonna play a game. Where's my money? And he says, he picks a guy and he just hits him on the head, and his head busts through just blood, and he falls to the ground. It's gross. And you're like, well, that's rough. And then they take off the hoods of the other two guys who are alive, and it's the fellows who are looking for, or who are working together, the young guy and the old guy, con men.
Okay.
They're under the other two people under the hoods, and you're like, okay, stuff's happening. And then there's a small sequence where you just see the young guy's working by himself, doing a little bit of conning here, a little bit of conning there.
Yeah.
You know, scamming people out of purses or something. And then a stranger randomly is like, hey, are you that guy? He's ready. You ready? He's like, I was just, okay. He's like, go put your bag of stolen goods away. Don't take it with us to this house. So he does. So the game in question is called a Nomad game.
Nomad. I know this game. Keep going.
It's a poker game.
Yeah.
It moves around.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I've never played.
No, because it's a moving around poker game, and the only way you can get in is if you have this phone number and you call the number, and that's how you know where the game is. And it's something like
I'm now wondering if some of my classmates have watched this movie.
Oh. And there's the really high buy-in number, right? It's very exclusive, apparently. And so these two con men and one of the guys from the beginning, there's those three of them, they're going to work together to have a kind of a switch of the cards in the game that will make them come off with, like, all the money, effectively.
I love it.
So they're going to make the young guy do the switch.
Aw, come on.
So there's a whole scene, there's like a brief moment where he's like practicing the switch for like a week or something before they do it. They get it, and then they go to the meeting, or they go to the game, and in the car, the old guy turns to the young guy, and he's like, I know you're gonna try and con me. And he's like, and I don't care, you can run away with this money if you'd like, but if you go in there, don't double cross me, because I've put too much into this to be double crossed, okay? Because it's like a lot of money. It's him, this other guy, and the other guy. They're like $100,000 in at this point, you know. He's like, I'll shoot you if you double cross me.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. So the kid then decides to go, and he goes in, and they go in separately. Welcome to the Nomad, says a lady, and cut to the torture scene again.
What?
Again?
Yeah. Did I miss something?
No, like they periodically return to like the scene where there's the three guys, or now the two guys.
Okay.
And he says, you know, I want to know what's going on. And then you go back to the poker game, and you realize that the guy at the end of the table, who's really boisterous and, you know, is a very recognizable face, he's the guy who's asking them for money at the end.
Oh.
I'm like, oh no! The poker game has an extended play sequence. It's pretty nerve-wracking. I don't know, actually, when the switch happened in the game with the... They don't make a big deal of the actual, like, sleight of hand. But ultimately, the old guy ends up with a whole bunch of money through this switch, apparently, which I totally missed.
Yeah.
And the guy at the end of the table gets really upset. And the old con man is like, well, I'm just gonna quit now while I'm ahead. And he turns to the guy, and he's like, is that good? And the guy's like, sounds good to me. I think you should sit down, Mr. Guy at the table, who's making too much noise. So he does. He bows out, and he leaves. Gives the money. He's doing great. And then, like, the young guy comes out right afterwards. And he says, no, you were supposed to stay. They know. They figured it out. I'm sure. And so they go to the car and, like, open it. Two people come out, and they're, like, gonna chase them. So they take the car. They get away. And, the young guy's gonna take the train, apparently. And he says, hang on a second. So they stop at like a bridge or whatever, and the young guy asks the old guy to take his stash with him and put it with the major stash, because all he wants to have with him is like $15,000. They're not coming back to the city because they're dead men at this point, because apparently that guy was in charge. So he's like, take this with you. It's got my granddad's watch in it, and just like couple $1,000 or something. He says, okay, sounds good. They're kind of friends at this point. So don't come back unless you hear from me. And then the young guy, we cut to seeing, like, there's a young guy, the young con man is in, like, a hotel, and he wakes up, and then he comes out of the bathroom, and there's the huge bouncer from earlier. Yeah. You're like, oh, he's been caught. So we're back at the torture scene.
Great.
And it's them, and, the old con man is like, stop twisting his arm or whatever was happening, and he's like, I'll tell you where the money is. Just let me, think about it for a second. So, okay. He's like, I'm not gonna abide by, your falsehood. Because so he tells him where the money is. He goes, and there's only, like, it's in his shed. They get some of the money. He's like, but that's not enough money. So he hits the old guy on the head. And he kills him. Oh, and you're like, oh no. Wait. So now there's the young guy, and he's all upset. He's like, okay, I'll tell you. Before he killed him, he actually he had put a tracker in his bag, apparently, that had followed the stash to the other guy's house that he left. The bag he left with the stash. Okay. Right. And he's told them about that. They went there. They didn't find a stash. It's gone. He's upset. He's like, oh no. That's when they kill the old guy. And now the young guy's like, oh no, what do I do? And then he panics, and he's like, okay.
Don't panic.
He tells them, with the other guy dead, where he has more money hidden away. It's the last holdout. And what's notable is that earlier in the movie, he said he didn't have any more money. Uh-oh. And he's like, so apparently he did have more money off hidden away somewhere. And then he blacks out or something, and he wakes up in this, like, plastic room. Like, not plastic, like, anyway, so he opens it, he walks through these, like, doors, and he realizes he's at the farmhouse. He has no clothes on, and he's just, like, he walks into the house, and there's just a brief moment where you see, like, bags of fake blood on the counter, and he walks in, and there's 4 people sitting at the kitchen table. Yep. And it's the old guy, the torture guy, and the girl, and the third guy involved in the con. It's the 4, probably. Uh-huh. And the 3 of them leave, except for the old guy. And they're like, you're gonna have to deal with that, kid. So he sits down, and he says, so how did you know? And so he realizes it was actually a rubber mallet. It squishes quite satisfyingly. How did you know? And then the guy's like, how did I know which? That you were gonna con me, or that you had more money hidden away, or that you killed Joe. What? And so you're like, oh, I don't know. So you sort of had this at the back of your mind the whole film, that the young guy probably killed Joe. Okay. But you just didn't, you moved on from it, because you were like, probably not. Like, what on earth? So...
Don't ignore those feelings. Ever.
How did you know? How did he know, Ruth? Are you ready? This is what got me. It was the game. The Nomad game. Uh-huh. Is the older con man's con.
Oh.
It's his game.
Oh my gosh.
He made it up. It's the whole table is loaded except for one chair. That's the idea. There's one person in the game who doesn't know that everyone is playing.
Wow.
In hand. And it was that guy. And, yeah. And he's like, Joe deserved better than to be murdered by you. Yeah, so the con was the con. There's a little bit of conversation about that. And then he's like, did you ever see The Sting? This is the thing. And I hadn't. And I was like, dang it. Tragic. And in The Sting, apparently, there's a scene where one character asks the other character, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And the guy goes, well, I don't know enough about killing to kill him. That's the idea, right? So he's conning this guy out of revenge to get, like, all his money, because he doesn't know enough about killing to kill him.
Okay.
And then the old con man, having explained this, says, but that's just a movie. And then he shoots the guy.
Oh my gosh.
And the final quotation on the screen is, there is one way by which absolute protection against unknown advantages may be assured. That is, by never playing for money. I will be frank, I found it inconclusive. I don't know. But I don't know, I felt like it was a good sort of twist at the end.
Good yarn,
generally. It was just really extended at times. You know?
Bit much.
Just a bit much. Much of a muchness, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Thoughts? Considerations?
I think Dr. Wong might like it.
You think? I don't know.
He likes long movies.
I don't know. It was just... it was so lily pad-ish.
What?
Like, imagine a ginormous lily pad next to another ginormous lily pad. And you couldn't hop. You had to walk across all the lily pads. Imagine having to walk... walking across all the lily pads as opposed to jumping.
I don't like that.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Sploosh.
Walking across lily pads.
Slog.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. What is your rating out of hidden stashes of money? Out of one stash of money out of how many stashes of money?
5.
Wow, that's poor.
Well, it would be more like 3.
Okay, 3 out of 5 stashes of money?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna have to keep my eye out for a movie like this one.
But 5 out of 9 bottles of wine.
There was no wine in this movie. Actually, there was.
It makes me think of, what's the sparkling thing? Champagne. Champagne. 5 out of 9 bottles of champagne.
Okay. Good to know. Well, folks.
Hello.
Thank you so much for listening.
Wow.
You can now follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and that other one, Instagram, at Lost in Theaters, for all of them. If you have a movie that you think you might be interested in looking at, feel free to contact us through those platforms.
Yep.
Follow us on whatever thing you're listening to. Also, if you're using Apple Podcasts, feel free to leave us a review. That would be awesome.
We can get reviewed?
Yeah, they can say good or bad job.
Do they take us away?
No.
We're up for review?
Sister.
Sorry. I'll keep it together.
I think this might be the penultimate episode of the season.
What?
Yeah, but then we'll be back in the summer. It's just they're gonna be like a week off, and then we'll be back again.
I think I'm just not prepared for change.
Well, folks, thanks so much for listening. We hope you have a good week. Bye.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.